Hey everybody, it's Josh Ronquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, back from summer vacation to bring you all of the albums that I checked out for July 2025 in Up Today and What I Missed. That's right, I've been gone about 3 weeks, even though I've been working pretty much every day, just haven't been putting up album reviews, but I did pick out 40 albums that have come out this month and some that came out previously to show off for you for July 2025. But in keeping up with the standard rules that I do for Up Today and What I Missed, I have 6 brand new albums that came out today and 34 that came out along the way. So I'm a little bit rusty here. A lot of dark stuff has been happening on my side personally, but I'm going to be doing what I can to get things back into normal here, shake off that rust, and show you some great new music. Let's get into it. First up, we have Azure Emote with Cryptic Aura, the 4th album from this band featuring past and present members of Fear Factory, Rumpelstiltskin, Grinder, one of the most underrated bands from America, Monstrosity, and Serenia. Talk about some diversity going on there. This band hits on so many levels of metal that feels abstract, but work together in context and creates these gorgeous and out there soundscapes that just work perfectly with each other. You can hear things go from the most brutal side of death metal a la Nile to almost grind moments of bands like Cephalic Carnage to the ever quirky moments of Isan's solo work. The production on this one is that fine line between raw and polish that makes the music really speak for itself. It's created by a group that knows how to write and perform to the best of their abilities. This is an insane album and definitely won't be for everyone, but it is also a welcome change of pace for those needing something a little bit different. If that's what you need, check this one out. Now we have Bloodletter with Leave the Light Behind. The 4th album from the Chicago thrash band is my first foray into the band, but I instantly fell in love with what they're doing. This is my kind of thrash to an absolute T. It knows how to get nice and heavy, when to focus on all guns blazing, but upon listening to the previous work, the band is focusing more on the melodic side of thrash nowadays. And it just makes for this perfect blend of Death Angel meets Warbringer. You couldn't come up with a better combination for this style than what Bloodletter is doing here. The production is clear and exactly what is called for, and the songwriting is out of this world catchy, and it'll just get you headbanging every single time. While there have been some great thrash albums that have happened this year, it's been kind of a good resurgence for thrash in 2025. I think this is an underrated release that you should not miss out on, as it might become one of my favorite thrash metal albums of the year, if not my favorite. If you want your thrash with a melodic tinge to it, make sure to check out Bloodletter. Next up, we have Cold Slither with their self-titled debut. This album simply rules, and one that I never thought would have been created. Gus Rios, of too many bands to mention in this blurb like this, is the mastermind behind creating this G.I. Joe band for real life. And it's everything that you want it to be. It's the right kind of heavy metal that gets just heavy enough, but it's endlessly catchy and full of the right kind of cheesy moments. Also adding members of Exhumed, KMFDM, and Gruesome. And you have a band that knows how to play, knows what is appropriate to play for in a band like this, and it's just endlessly fun from start to finish. The production just hits so hard and punches you in the right way. There's also sound clips from the original show that'll just put a smile on your face if you have a nostalgia for it. Simply put, this is the modern day nostalgia album that you didn't think could ever happen, but you're so glad that it did. If you want a pure heavy metal album that pays tribute to your potential childhood, that can help you forget your troubles of the world, and put a grin on your face from ear to ear, check out Cold Slither. Whether this is a one-time deal or a band that can continue into the future, just be happy that Cold Slither has returned in 2025 and has given us their glory in the name of Cobra. Next up, we have False Gods with Lost in Darkness and Distance. The 3rd album from this New York band is quite the shot to the system. The album hits you in so many directions of sludge and doom, but it has this hardcore attitude behind it all. I dare say some post-punk elements in the right spots as well, to make this such a diverse experience. The production is rich and full, while the songwriting will grab your attention from beginning to end. This is how I enjoy the style, where it doesn't linger too long on the sludge, or the stoner, or the doom, or the post, or anything that's going on, without losing sight of what the sound is all about. I can hear elements of bands like Conan, Yob, Godflesh, and more. And it's just everything that you want to hear done right in the genre. And if you want that as well, check out what False Gods is all about. Now we have Jordfast with Blodstad och Hor, which I think is how you pronounce it. I apologize if I got it wrong. The 3rd album from the Swedish band is some of the most brutal and pulverizing black metal that I've heard all year. From the perfect production style to this excellent songwriting to jaw-dropping display of musicianship on hand, it creates this dark, evil atmosphere that couldn't feel more appropriate for the style. I can hear moments that remind me of bands such as Enslaved, Primordial, Dark Funeral, even Bathory, to create their unique sound that hits you like a ton of bricks, but doesn't let up on the power, even when the tempo changes. If you want one of the best displays of what black metal can be in 2025, you need to see what's going on with the band known as Jordfaust. And finally, for brand new albums out today, we have Shade Crown with Zero. The fourth album from this Finnish band is bringing back the melodies, harmonies, and sadness into melodeath and doom with Zero. The band blends both genres without going too far into either genre, making for the perfect balance and showcasing the band's songwriting abilities and skill. The production is clear but still raw enough to give it this really authentic feeling. Musically, it reminds me a lot of Eternal Tears of Sorrow, Insomnium, Swallow the Sun, and Mariana's Rest. The more you listen, the sadder the music gets because you start to understand more of what's going on with it, but that's exactly how I want something like this to be done. And if you're in need for a style like this, blending melodeath and doom, I can't recommend Shade Crown enough. It's great for these dark times that we live in. And now for everything that I missed along the way, starting with Augmented Existence, with Edifice of Mortal Struggle. 3 albums into this one-man Finnish band's catalog, and they are hitting on the best material they've done to date. This is pushing the envelope in such a satisfying way that hits you so hard with the production in this raw but clear style, and the songwriting that feels like you were just being transplanted into the void, and you were grasping at your last moments of life in the cosmos. While maybe not revolutionary, I don't know who has done this sound better with such authenticity, especially in 2025. There's been a lot of great cosmic and futuristic black metal albums that have come out this year, but there is an argument that this is the most triumphant of them all. Just give it a spin and see if you feel the same way. I know I'm gonna keep coming back to this one time and time again. Now we have Awaken I Am with The Only Way Out Is Through. While continuing to explore my love of post-hardcore bands, I have come across the 4th album from this Australian band and I'm thoroughly enjoying what the band has in store for us. While there are so many moments that feel like they should be on modern hard rock FM radio, that is also part of the charm for someone who doesn't really explore that style often. It can get heavier, but never enough to take away from the appeal for a mainstream fan. There are down-tuned guitars, breakdowns, and the familiar moments for heavier fans, but if it's balanced out with the poppier moments, in a way that feels like it's an earworm song after song, I think it works. If you enjoy the likes of Siamese, Dayseeker, Holding Absence, and more, I think you will find something to love with Awaken I Am. They have a lot to offer. Now we have Barnzerker with 3. The 3rd album in 3 years from this one-man project is a welcome change in the black and folk metal stylings. It's quite the dark take on the genres, hitting near Viking metal levels of sound, all while maintaining this essence of melody and harmony that hits so hard when done right, especially in the folk metal side of things. You will get a full range of black, death, doom, folk, and more throughout all of this. I almost feel like it never goes too far into diversity and keeps this very consistent sound. The production is quite raw and clearly from a one-man project, but that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes that can come off as very meaningful and pure of heart. If you want a very earnest take on some dark music and what definitely sounds like very cathartic music for the one creating the music, check out what Barnzerker has created with their brand new album 3. Next up, we have The Bleak Picture with Shades of Life. On off their debut album with 2024's Meaningless, comes the sophomore album from this Finnish duo. The band continues their sound of the darkest, saddest, yet most gorgeous music that grips your heartstrings while tearing you apart. The production continues with their raw yet clear sound, and the songwriting seems to hit even harder than before. I've noticed more people have discovered this band with this album, which is a great thing, but I hope they go back and check out Meaningless as well. Not just because I covered it last year, but because they have so much good that comes from both albums, and they feel like great companion pieces to each other, and they both deserve your attention. If you enjoy the likes of Death Doom, in the likes of Paradise Lost, the melodic side of Swallow the Sun, this is required listening. Make sure to check this one out. Now we have Celestial Wizard with Regenesis. The 3rd album from this Colorado band feels like the perfect mixture of Scandinavian metal, and I love it for that. Lyrically, the album goes through a lot of different themes, but it focuses on what feels like a sci-fi western fantasy. Musically, it balances power metal, melodeath, and other elements to create a sound that feels very much their own, but still hints at other bands. The production is clear and pristine for the style. The songwriting is endlessly catchy from beginning to end, while still giving twists and turns that you won't see coming. If you want a band that feels like combining Children of Bodom, Brimir, Lutharo, and even Wayfarer, those two really need to tour together, especially considering they're both from Colorado, check out what Celestial Wizard has to offer with Regenesis. Now we have the Burning Dogma with Over and Over, one after the other. 2 albums in this Italian band's career, and through true adversity, they have found their sound and hopefully a stable lineup. All you have to do is look at their Metallic page and see how many lineup changes have happened since the band's inception in 2010, but the band is here with their sophomore album, and easily their best work to date. The album feels fresh and inspired and hits so many tropes that you want to hear in darker music. It can get as heavy as any melodeath band that you can find. It also hits this great gothic metal element for a great overlay, but it also has this great feeling of dark metal that ties everything together. Imagine Nevermore, Tiamat, Moonspell, and Insomnium rolled into one. Mix that into a fantastic production style and songwriting that hits hard, and you have a gothic metal album that should satisfy anyone that is looking to check this one out. Give this one a proper listen if you were looking for something new in your gothic and melodeath stylings. Now we have Cam Girl with Flesh and Chrome. The sophomore album from this North Carolina band is the kind of album that we need in 2025. A glam rock inspired 21st century album hitting on topical issues while still hitting that 80s sleaze but through a 2025 filter. Add in some trans appreciation and awareness, and you have a fun album from start to finish. I hear so much Poison throughout the entire album with the occasional hints of poppier moments, punkier moments, and just this overall sense of how music has evolved in this style of glam in the past 40 years. The production is nice and punchy and modernized just enough, and the songwriting, while I know it won't be for everyone, it is great to hear this made in such a fun and flashy style, and a great battle cry for the trans community and basically everyone attached to the LGBTQ+ community as well. I'd love to see them do a show with Minnesota's All the Pretty Horses. I think that would be a great time. If you want to hear a modern take on music of nearly half a century ago and have it feel still just as relevant in 2025, check out Cam Girl. Now we have Construct with Ominous. 3 albums into the Swedish Outfits catalog, and the band is showing their appreciation for the past and present as a whole. My first foray into the band is a wonderfully crafted display of that signature 90s Gothenburg sound, with just enough thrash metal elements to make it different, and also having some modern tinges that make it sound viable and fresh for a modern audience. I will say that the vocal delivery feels like kind of a new take of Anders Frieden of In Flames with that higher pitched scream, so it won't be for everybody, but if you dig that sound, you will dig this. In fact, I hear a lot of In Flames throughout this entire album. The good eras of In Flames anyways, mixed in with that thrashier side of At the Gates and some modern influences in just the right spots. Mix that with an updated but still raw production style, and you have a loving tribute to one of the most important genres in metal history. Seriously, if you dig In Flames, you will enjoy what this is all about. Or if you just want to hear that 90s melodeath sound in 2025, you're also going to love what's going on here with Construct. Now we have Dead Guy with Near Death Travel Services. The sophomore album from Dead Guy comes 30 years after the release of their debut, a shock to pretty much everyone around the mathcore and metalcore world. I don't think anyone saw this coming, and wrote off the band as not only just a pioneer of the genre, but a one-album wonder. Thankfully, the band has returned and is angrier and more rage-filled than ever before, and given the landscape of the current world, there's plenty to be enraged about. At 11 songs and almost 36.5 minutes, this album destroys everything in sight, and never lets go long enough for you to wander away. If you want to see what one of the innovators of metalcore and mathcore can do in 2025, and putting almost every band in those styles to shame in the process, check out Dead Guy. Next up, we have Defenders of the Faith with Ode to the Gods. After working hard on their Leviathan trilogy, Therion had decided to take a side trip from their normal sound to create a tribute to classic metal with Defenders of the Faith. Obviously inspired by the Judas Priest album, the band channels their inner Priest, Maiden, Saxon, and other new wave of British heavy metal into an album that feels like the classic bands of the 70s and the 80s with brand new material. It's a great modern throwback that shows how this style still holds up after all this time. There's nothing groundbreaking on this album, nor should there be. It's just a rock solid album with a classic but still modern sound production style and love letters musically and lyrically to the music of their youth. It's a fun album from start to finish and quite the diversion for what the Therion is going to do before they get back to writing new music under that moniker. If that's what you need right now, Defenders of the Faith have nailed it perfectly. Go and check this one out. Now we have Eternal Idol with Behind a Vision, the third album from this Italian symphonic power metal band, and sadly the first without Fabio Leone, is picking up right where they left off and creating some killer music in the process. Both new singers taking over vocal duties for Fabio are doing an incredible job, and they're such a great vocal pairing. Their voices match so well together and create some beautiful melodies and harmonies in the process. Match that up with a musical landscape that couldn't be more in the style of symphonic power metal, and you have an album that is showcasing what this genre should still be after all this time. The production hits so hard and the songwriting matches up to that quality, and if you want a musical mashup of basically Rhapsody meets Nightwish, you need to see what Eternal Idol is all about. You'll be glad that you did. Now we have Faithburner with From Suffering to Madness. The debut album from this Columbia band is a hard and heavy slab of melodeath with just the right amount of groove through it all. While there are plenty of melodies and harmonies to make any fan of the genre happy, there are so many pummeling moments, from the start-stop riffs to the vocal delivery, to the production that just pounds from pillar to post. No matter if the song is going all guns blazing or slows things down a bit for effect, every song hits hard and takes full force. While not direct comparisons, I can hear a lot of moments of In Flames, Insomnium, Devil Driver, and more throughout all of this. While this is a case of being for a particular subset of those who want more groove in their melodeath, if that is indeed your bag, you're gonna love what Faithburner has in store for you. Seriously, go check this one out. Now we have Feeble Attempt with Take the Plunge. The sophomore album from this one-man Canadian band is one of the most earnest takes on punk that I've heard in a very long time. The whole album feels like this loving tribute to the late 90s, mid-2000s era pop-punk and punk rock that hits on this catchy, simple, and memorable moments that makes the genres work. Every song features a guest vocalist on it, though I will thoroughly admit that I'm not familiar with any of the names alone. Still, I will say that every single vocalist works wonders throughout this one. I can hear everything from MXPX to Bad Religion to NoFX to Pennywise and others on this, and it just brings back this childhood in myself in the best way. The production is top-notch and the songs feel so appropriate throughout. It's a short and sweet affair. It's 11 songs but a little over 28 minutes in length. If you've ever loved punk or pop punk, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. I think you'll really dig it. Next, we have Ghost Anthem with Echoes. The debut album from this French band featuring the bassist of Kozoria, who put out a killer debut album with 2024's The Source, is here with an intriguing mix of metalcore and metal death, which is sure to make some tryhards angry, but everyone else very happy. Mixing both genres together in a way that just gets more and more satisfying every time you listen to it. The production feels like it has this 2002 to 2004 feel behind it all, you know, that perfect era of metalcore, and the songwriting knows when to get crushing and when to let the melodies take over. If you enjoyed the likes of bands that I've covered this year, such as Vinegar Hill, Bent by Sorrow, or the heavier ends of Lift the Curse, you will be won over by what Ghost Anthem has brought to the table. With this just being their debut album, I can sense them getting bigger and better from here on out. I can't wait to see what they do next. Next up, we have Helheim with an album title I am going to butcher, Hrabnar ad Vesa. Again, I apologize for that. The 12th album from this long-running Viking metal black metal band is easily some of the band's best work. They have found this niche that fits them like a glove, and it only gets better with every preceding release. And with their latest album, the band combines all of these best qualities to create a sound that feels like a throwback to their beginnings, but also exactly what the band has been doing and going towards for the last 30 years since their debut album. The production, while sounding a bit more updated, still feels like that late 90s, early 2000s style, and the songwriting does everything that I love about this style of black metal in Viking metal. If you enjoy the likes of Enslaved, Rotting Christ, Borknagar, and Erebaltar, I can't recommend Helheim enough. They may be talked about less than all the other bands talked about, but they have been around just as long, and they may have one of the best track records. Go and check them out. Go check out all 12 albums they've done and see what I'm talking about. Here we have the Icarus Plan with Some Kind of Sign. The sophomore album from the southern US band is some of the catchiest stuff I've heard in the modern and alternative rock realms this year. You can hear everything from some of the heaviest sounds in the genre, to exploring more 80s alternative synthwave sounds, to everything in between. The production is crystal clear, and I'm astounded that this is not on modern FM rock radio, at least in my neck of the woods. this would go over perfectly, and I could see them becoming huge. This reminds me so much of bands from the early 2000s like Earshot, Evans Blue, Deep Field, and more. And only sounds catchier and more lovable with every repeat listen. It's not too often I can hear a band that is this focused on hooks and melodies, and the more mainstream sound that grabs my attention and doesn't let go. This reminds me so much of growing up and exploring bands in the early 2000s and discovering who I was musically. This brings back so many good memories. And if you can relate to that at all, or if you just want to hear what this sound is all about, you will love what the Icarus Plan has to offer. This feels like home to me, just updated enough for 2025. Up now we have Impurza, with a name that I'm probably gonna butcher, Alcazares. The third album since 2010 for this French band shows that it's all about quality, not quantity. With such a heavy flamenco influence through this death metal on display, it makes for such an intriguing mix of sounds. While not the first band to do this, they are an effective version of it. The production in the death metal side hits so hard with just being raw enough but so clear, but the flamenco side comes in beautifully and it hits in just the right spots. It feels like if Cynic wasn't really a prog band and they went into a flamenco side. I can also hear heavy moments of Nile, Behemoth, Hate, and other bands that really hit that brutal side of death metal, but when you mix both together, it's so effective. I didn't realize I needed an album like this until I came across my promos, and I'm so glad that I took a chance on it. If you need an album like this as well, I think you should really check out what Impurza is all about. Now we have Inhuman Condition with Mind Trap. 3 albums in 4 years from this Floridian death metal outfit that harkens back to that classic Florida death metal sound, but never losing sight to make sure that they are making it their own. Featuring past members of Massacre, of course all 3 members of the band are known for so many other bands, creating a sound that is very reminiscent of the band, but not a clone. The band knows how to channel their other influences as well, from bands like Death, Obituary, and some Demolition Hammer as well when it gets thrashier. The production is a pure late 80s sound, and the songwriting is as authentic as it gets. There's not a lot else I could say to sell you on this one. If you love that style of that 80s, 90s death metal sound, and you want a loving tribute to all of that, make sure to go check out Inhuman Condition. Next up we have Laguna with The Ghost of Katrina. The debut album from this Mexican band is a shining example of how new bands can do the melodic rock and AOR genres justice. This feels like an album that came out in 1984 but was completely remixed, remastered, and perhaps even rewritten at times for the modern day. The production is absolutely perfect and the songwriting is endlessly catchy, with every track standing out on its own but still working together to form a cohesive album. Everyone shines on this album and they write in such a way that puts a genuine smile on your face every time you listen to it, time and time again. If you love the genre, you are going to love what Laguna brings to the table, as this is one of the finest examples that you're going to hear in 2025, bar none. This is simply how it's done. Next up, we have Leverage with Gravity. The 6th album from this Finnish band continues to show their strength in creating that classic sound, but it's updated just enough. This feels like the best of classic metal, hard rock, power metal, and more, thrown together to create this signature blend. The production is punchy yet feels raw and real. The songwriting is just what you would expect from this band, and you wouldn't want it any other way. I've always considered this band to be what Rainbow would sound like if they were more power metal influenced, and they nail that description to an absolute T. 8 songs, just a little over 45 minutes, that is the perfect length and track list for an album like this. If you want a modern throwback, Leverage has all of that and more with Gravity. Now we have Lord Belial with Unholy Trinity. This Swedish black metal outfit's 10th album in 30 years is one of the most pulverizing displays of black metal in 2025. The production on this one hits you with every single bass drum note and rips you apart with the rest. The album is as evil as it sounds, and it makes you feel like the apocalypse is about to strike at any moment. This has become one of my favorite black metal releases of the year, and with every passing listen, it's easier to understand why. If you want your black metal with just enough melody and harmony, and for those who enjoy the likes of Naglfar, Necrophobic, and Thalkundra, get Unholy Trinity from Lord Belial now. You will not be disappointed. Next up, we have Nefarious with Addicted to Power. The brand new supergroup featuring past and present members of Hyrax, Death Angel, Exodus, Blind Illusion, and Heathen has created one of the most earnest displays of thrash and speed metal that you are not only going to hear this year, but in the 2020s, if not beyond. This is created by 5 members who have been a part of thrash legacy after thrash legacy, coming together to write the music they love, and it's so satisfying to hear time and time again. The production is pure 1987, as is the songwriting, and why would you want that any other way? This is an endlessly perfect display of what that classic sound of thrash and speed metal can and should be after all this time. This is easily for anyone looking for that sound, and I defy you to find anyone doing it with more authenticity in 2025 than Nefarious. Now we have Philosophophobia with The Constant Void, a group I didn't know I needed. The sophomore release features past and present members of Camelot, Agrippni, and Crownfall, creating a modern take on what heavy progressive metal can and should be. Feeling like a wild concoction of sounds from bands like Threshold, Pain of Salvation, Muse, Nevermore, and others, this is on the fast track to being one of my favorite prog albums of the year. The production is exactly what it's called for, and the music goes from simple to simplistic to bombastic and flat out wacky in all of the right spots. This is my kind of prog through and through, and I simply can't get enough of it. This won't be for everybody, especially considering there's a 20-minute epic to close out the album, but for those who want a true, earnest display of what prog metal and prog metal adjacent genres can be, Philosophophobia couldn't have nailed it any better with The Constant Void. It only gets better and better, and if you dig this style, I think you'll agree. Now we have Presto Ballet with Dreamentia, the 6th album in 21 years from Kurt Vanderhoof of Metal Church and Scott Albright of Vanderhoof's solo band, is that pure love of 60s, 70s, and 80s progressive rock that they've always been known for, and that shines even more on Dreamentia. This is a prog epic by every meaning of the term, at over an hour and 15 minutes, including an 18-minute epic in the latter half of the album. This hits everything you love about prog rock, with just a tad of prog metal. The production is that classic sound that you would hope for on an album like this, and the songwriting shows off that amazing ability from everyone in the band. If you enjoy the likes of Kansas, Rush, the Flower Kings, Boston, even Dream Theater in some spots, Presto Ballet is doing all of that and more with Dreamentia. This is tailor-made for every prog rock fan out there. Go and check this one out. Here we have Primal Frost with Path of Resilience. The 3rd album from Dean Arnold is such a wonderful display of genre bending and creating a sound that is unique and so enjoyable to hear time and time again. While you hear so much melodeath and power metal throughout the album, you will hear elements of blackened death metal, tech death, the occasional folk metal sections, as well as more to balance everything out. The production is so heavy and punchy, and as is the songwriting. While this does sound like a wild display of genres on paper, the execution is where this all lies in how it works. And it all makes sense the more that you listen to it. It's not often you'll hear a band that channels their inner Winter Sun as much as they do Crimson Shadows, Brimir, Falkenbach, and Moonsorrow. This is an album that grabs your attention and holds it to the end. If you're intrigued at all by this, give Primal Frost your proper attention. I think you'll be glad that you did. Now we have Prisoner with Kill the King. The sophomore album and 2nd album in 2 years from this Canadian band is a wonderful tribute to the past while delivering what can be done in the future. It hits the moments of classic rock, new wave of British heavy metal, and other rock and metal genres together to create an earnest and triumphant display of songwriting. The production is a bit raw, but it works to the advantage of the music, and the performances from everyone in the band are outstanding. The vocals remind me much of Nathan Opposition of Ancient Wisdom in all of the best ways. 11 songs and almost 40 minutes of fun and electrified rock and metal from a band that has a pure love for the music they are creating. If that doesn't give you hope for the future in these styles, what else could? Next up we have Ramonda with The Walls Are Crumbling Down. The debut album from Santiago Ramonda is a phenomenal display of melodic rock and AOR in all the best ways. Hits of vocal ability over the hard-hitting and touching riffs and melodies make for an album that will grip you and bring you back to those wonderful times of the 70s and 80s sound. Ramonda's voice reminds me so much of Joe Lynn Turner, and I mean that in the best of ways. The music is everything that makes these genres work, and it never gets old. Yeah, if you love that sound of Whitesnake, Rainbow, Badlands, Ramonda is exactly what you need. Give this one your time and love. you'll find something to really appreciate about this one. Next up, we have Stardust with Souls. This Israeli band's third album is such a fun display of symphonic and progressive metal, feeling like a grand mix of symphony acts, dream theater, and epica mixed together with their own herbs and spices to create a sound that is undeniably their own. The production is rich and full, but still sounds real. The songwriting on hand knows when to keep things simple, but also knows when to go off the wall and show off their chops in the best of ways. In these dark and turbulent times, it's nice to know that there's some great music that can come out of the world that can hopefully bring people together, especially in this realm of symphonic and progressive metal. I feel like Stardust is doing such an incredible job of that. And if you need that right now, see what Stardust can offer you with their brand new album known as Souls. Now we have Seasons in Black with Anthropocene. Despite forming 29 years ago in 1996, and I hate saying that sentence because that's so long ago now, this is just the third album from this German band, and they have evolved their sound in ways that you just need to hear to understand. From their more black and death metal roots, the band has become what they call doomcore, which blends black, death, groove, hardcore, gothic, and doom, all rolled into their signature sound. It's quite the shock to listen to, especially for a first time listen, but as you listen more and more, it unlocks and everything starts to make more and more sense. It knows when to be brutal, it knows when to lay back and let the riffs do the talking. The production is pristine for the style, and the songwriting is mesmerizing from beginning to end. While it may sound like a hodgepodge on paper, the execution is anything but. Dive into something that may be new to you and see what Seasons of Black is all about with their blend of doomcore. Next up is Shadow of Intent with Imperium Delirium. I've had so many people tell me I need to check this one out, and they were very surprised that I didn't cover it before my break. Sadly, I didn't get to this album until after I was all done with the reviews for the first half of the year. Sadly, sometimes I get things done too early and I miss out on a promo like this, but I'm flabbergasted by what I'm hearing. While the New England band's fifth album does feature moments of start-stop riffs, breakdowns, and the occasional pig squeals, and of course that deathcore trademark that you would expect, that's about like a fourth of the album compared to the symphonic and epic display on hand that gives bands like Flesh God Apocalypse and Lorna Shore a run for their money. They even got Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse to come in and do some guest vocals on this one, which is a really cool thing to see. This is a band that knows how to use deathcore as a foundation and let the other sides of their musical personalities shine through and make everything truly stand out. The production couldn't be more polished, but also devastating, which is exactly what you want in this style. If you've never given this genre a chance before, this is easily one of the best examples of it in 2025. Go and see what Shadow of Intent is all about. Next up, we have Skyborn Reveries with their self-titled album. The fourth album from this one-man Australian band in 9 years is a tear-jerking and stunning display of how to do the atmospheric side of post-black justice. The production is, of course, raw, but there's so much beauty that comes from that, and it's so hard to explain if you don't hear it. But all I can do is encourage you to listen to it and fully get a grasp on it. The songwriting is what sells this album, and the band as a whole. It is a cosmic and haunting journey, all while having the sheer authenticity behind it all. It also has these moments of folk and doom in just the right spots to break up the tension of the album in just the right ways. This would be a perfect companion album to the latest album from Aldemar. Seriously, those two together work wonders. It takes you on this whimsical and eerie journey that keeps your interest from beginning to end, just as a good post-black album should. If you missed this one, go check it out right now. Now we have Tarfod, with a name I'm absolutely gonna butcher, Efter Lamande I Sorg. I'm so sorry for getting that wrong. Hey, now that I think about it, didn't I just cover this Swedish one-man band? I sure did, back in February. But now 5 months have passed and there's already another new album, and it's easily my favorite of the two. While I did enjoy the previous album, La Donde, this album just hits me in a way that I didn't know it could. It hits emotional territories in this style that just hits so hard and grip your soul. The production is this perfect style, and the songwriting attached is just what is the driving force here. While the band's fifth album in 2 years, there's no indication that this is an AI-led project. Some artists are just that prolific, just look at Deha, and that's what I'm hearing here. And when inspiration hits, you take it. This is magnificent work, and I only enjoy it the more and more I hear it. If you need some emotionally gripping piece of progressive post-black, do yourself a favor and check out what Tarfod is all about. Now we have Wanted with Cutting Edge. The third album from this Michigan band feels like they are unearthing their albums from 40 years ago and releasing them now online. Of course, the band just started in 2021, but they have been on the warpath ever since. Their music is everything you love about the heavier side of what we call 80s metal. From the crazy solos to the insane vocal deliveries to the songwriting that feels right at home with the kids of Dokken, Van Halen, Rat, and Keel. At a little over 40 minutes and 10 songs, this feels like a true 80s album done in 2025 in the best of ways. Everything you love about the style is done here in full display, and it'll take a lot to find a band doing this with more authenticity in this day and age, including the original bands. Trust me on that one. If you love this style, check out what Wanted is all about. And finally today, we end things with Witch Hazel with 5 Lamentations. The 5th album from this UK band brings back the spirit of 70s rock and metal, done in a way that needs to be heard to be believed. This truly feels like a band that existed in the mid-70s, and we're only hearing them now. Everything from the production to the songwriting, it feels like 50 plus years ago, but it's done with such authenticity and conviction behind it that truly makes everything work. In a band that feels like a mix of Thin Lizzy, Pagan Altar, and the prog rock era of Opeth, and even some Angel Witch. This is a band that has a sheer love of yesteryear and wants to update it just enough for the 2020s. You can't fake this, and that's what makes it so good. If you want a modern throwback done in earnest, check out what Witch Hazel is all about. And there you go, folks. 40 albums that I have listened to in July 2025. So what do you think? Did I pick out some good albums, some bad albums? Anything that I missed out on? Please let me know down below. And of course, next week we'll be right back in the schedule for Out Today and what I missed for August 1st, 2025. It feels nice to be back, but I still gotta shake off some of that rust. So if I got some things wrong, please let me give my apologies, and hopefully we'll be back to the way things should be next week. But until then, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Runquist saying, embrace the skillet.